Classroom discipline. Let's take a look at this scenario. You ask, say you are the teacher. You ask the class a question and hands thrown into the air. And you ask the little boy to answer the question. And the answer is right. Okay, and then you what? You praise the boy. Oh, excellent answer. You're so good. But all of a sudden, this boy stands up, beating his chest with his clenched fist, imitating King Kong, and holler, Yahoo! I am numero uno. Yeah. What would you do, okay, in this scenario? All right, so someone has disrupted your class, trying to draw attention to his correct answer. Okay, so just trying to what? Trying to raise his status in the classroom. But anyway, let's take a look at what characteristics of classrooms. All right, so it's multi-dimensional. It is what? It is with differing goals, performing various tasks within particular time pressures. See, it is one. It's called multi-dimensional. It kind of what goes on what rapidly. Simultaneity. So many things happening at once. Many things happening at once. There's so many students, all right, they interact with one another. Immediacy. Life flows at a very fast pace. There are hundreds of immediate exchanges per day, just within the classroom. Unpredictable. Even with the best plans, disruptions are likely. So it is very unpredictable from day to day, from time to time. Public. Most interactions between teacher and surroundings are available for evaluation by the student. All right, so everything is public. History. Current events frequently dependent on what's gone before. Right? So we have all these 6 characteristics within a single classroom. Right? So it is multidimensional and everything happening at once, and then everything happening with urgency. Things are unpredictable. Everything is available for public scrutiny. And histories determine what goes on or what may happen, that type of thing. All right. So let's take a look at the goals of classroom management. Well, the first thing is that we see 25% of available time lost to interruptions and rough transition. This is true. Say 1/4 of the available time lost in interruption, rough transition, and discipline problems. And then research has found a significant relationship between content covered and student learning. Right? So that is kind of predicted, right? And student learning highly correlated with amount of engaged time. that is to say, time spent actively attending to specific learning tasks. And remember what Warburg's teaching effect, elements of teaching effectiveness, engaged academic learning time. It is 0.38 standard deviation better than without. Right, so it is a big difference. Access to learning. Right? It is important to have explicit rules defining participation in various activities. Right? It's good to do that. And of course, it's important to have consistent rules defining participation. Inconsistent rules may cause confusion in students, resulting in increased disruptions. Students may willfully break rules to test the rules. Okay, drop a test tube on purpose, then drop another one. Let's see how you will react. You know, that type of thing, all right? Student self-management. Student self-management. To help students become better able to manage themselves. So that is the goals of these are the goals of classroom management. Okay, how do you plan for good planning for good classroom management? Assign work at students' ability level on the basis of ATI model. Remember, attribute, treatment, interaction. Okay, David Hunt. Okay, and Weiner. Okay, Weiner. And then of course, conceptual level is David Hunt. So on the basis of ATI model, and also depending on the students' conceptual level, CL, right? Work below or beyond the student's ability level can cause confusion in students, resulting in increased disruption. Right? And of course, motivate students using mostly extrinsic motivation for young children, and gradually, and of course for older students, you mostly using intrinsic. For younger, mostly extrinsic, but you slowly move on to intrinsic motivation. So let's hope that Gordon Allport functional autonomy for learning will take place. All right. So make rules clear and specific, especially positive and negative consequences. So let's take a look at this here. Rules specify expected and forbidden actions in the class. Right? So that's what rules are for. And the next point is determine beforehand the consequences for following and breaking rules. Right? So a lot of time we have to accentuate the positive when students are following rules. Okay, and then and if only making negative comments on students breaking rules, and that will certainly affect the classroom morale, right? So remember, accentuate the positive. The next point is that better to have a few general rules than many specific ones. As only a few general rules should be good enough. Why? And students can remember them easily. And then these rules, general rules, can be applied to what specific instances as well. Remember, well, this is deductive logic, is that right? And rules must be taught. They must be taught. Right? So let's take a look at what maintaining classroom management. Of course, prevention is always the best medicine. Right? So let's take a look at the with-itness. Remember what we discussed it briefly in on motivation. Right? So with-itness, we stop minor disruptions before they become major. That is to say, remember the ripple effect. You want to what? You want to be with it. Stop ripple effect before it becomes what? Tidal wave. Now, do not make timing errors. So what is it here? You're waiting too long before intervening. Okay? Don't make these errors. Do not make target errors, blaming the wrong student. As you are writing on the board, something happens behind you. Okay, you have to find out what you have to find out the perpetrator. All right. Now, and if what say because of what multidimensionality immediacy, if two problems occur simultaneously, you deal with the most serious one first, because you do that. All right. And you would have to do this very often. The next one here, do not publicly correct every minor infraction of the rules. Okay, so this one here is, we know that one. Sometimes you just deal with the person privately. If you can afford it privately, will be able to stop minor infraction. Okay, or you walk towards the students, make eye contact. I want to say stare at the student. Okay, make eye contact, and perhaps just lean toward the student, walk toward the student. And now, 4 simple ways to stop misbehavior quickly. I just mentioned some of those. Okay, make eye contact or move closer. Okay, if procedure not being followed, remind student of procedure. And then you ask student to state rule or procedure and follow it. And then finally, you tell student assertively to stop misbehaving. Okay? If the behavior is dangerous, you will have to do that at once. Just stop it, stop it. Overlapping is the ability to keep track of and supervise several activities at the same time. This is indeed multitasking. Okay, so that's overlapping, and beginner teacher will certainly find it hard to do this, but with experience, you can. Okay, group focus, the ability to keep as many students as possible involved in appropriate classroom activities. Okay, avoiding a focus on just 1 or 2 students. So that is important. Okay, so group focus, and of course overlapping. Right? So with-itness, overlapping, group focus, these are important points for maintaining effective classroom management. All right. Okay. some special problems. Okay? What about students who seldom complete work? Okay? And you try to enforce established consequences for incomplete work. Okay, you do that. Okay, and students who continually break the same rules. How do you do that? You sit the student away from others who can be influenced, okay, or what? Sit the student in the first row or right in front of you. Be consistent about consequences, and encourage self-management techniques. And most of all, the teacher must remain friendly. Okay. But then what about the defiant, hostile students? So get out of situation, allow cool down time. Okay, hostile student. Okay, you get the student out of the situation if you can, and then let them cool it down. Follow through with consequences, and then talk privately about outbursts. It is talk privately. If you can afford to do that, it's quite effective. All right, quite effective. Violence or disruption of property. This perhaps it may be beyond your ability to deal with. So you send for help and get names of participants and witnesses, just in case perhaps you never know. Parents may come in to complain, or someone gets hurt, that type of thing. All right. So, like Kohlberg, I remember Kohlberg has pre-conventional 2 stages, conventional 2 stages, post-conventional 2 stages. Right? And then let's review that a little bit here. Stage 1, Kohlberg's stage 1 is whoever has the biggest feast will have to say, all right? Just like the world politics, like United States, okay? Stage 2, that is still that, but that is a little bit more civilized. That you ask for, okay, you do this to me, I'll do that to you. It's kind of exchange favor, all right? And stage 3 conventional, okay? Stage 3 is you want to be nice to other people. Is that right? You want to be nice to other people. And remember, Carol Gilligan complained that most women were classified into stage 3. Okay, stage 4 is to follow, to establish the rules and regulations rigidly. Okay, that's stage 4. Stage 5 is that then people begin to evaluate if the current rules and apply to the situation. Okay, remember Hans' story. Sometimes human life is far more important than the set of rules established. Okay, so at stage 5, people will evaluate existing rules. Okay, evaluate existing rules and see if they can be applicable. Stage 6 is following universal principle. Do unto others as you would others do unto you. That type of thing. Okay, so 6 stages. Now here are stages of development and discipline. We have what? 5. Okay, we have 5. Let's take a look at what? Method of discipline in various stages of development. Okay, let's take a look at that here. Now, and remember a stage theories. We have discussed several stage theories. Discipline is no exception. All right. And remember, we have Piaget's stages of intellectual growth. We have Erikson's psychosocial growth and personal growth. All right. And of course, you have Colbert theory, and of course Freud's sexual growth. Okay, so discipline also develops through stages of how students understand rules and order. All right, so let's take a look at the first rule here, the first stage. Use of physical means to acquire compliance. Okay, that is to say, spare the rod, inspire the child. All right, so generally effective only on a short-term basis. All right, for example, a child in temper tantrum, beating up a peer, or a teenager out of control on drugs, physically restrained must be physically restrained from harming others. Okay? And the thing is that, but as soon as the aversive stimulus, say physical force, time out room, is removed, the individual should revert to his or her normal behavior pattern. So we are relying on negative reinforcement, right? Put the student in a timeout room, okay, and then if the student behave well, then you remove the aversive stimulus. Okay? That's negative reinforcement. And remember, do not reinforce promises. Well, at this stage here, who makes the rules? Let's take a look at this here. Take a look at this here. All right. So, okay, focus. Who makes the rules? Okay, so that we are here. All right. Now, who makes the rules? Of course, teacher. Is that right? So, teacher will have to do that. Students are still too young, egocentric at stage 1. Who keeps the rules? Teacher. The students are still too young and they may not remember. Okay. How are the rules enforced? At this stage here, you're using you're using physical force, SICA, is that right? You're using physical method to do that. So physical method at this stage, okay? Why do students obey the rules? Of course, here, out of fear of punishment or to seek physical approval, is that right? So fear of punishment and seeking approval. Right? Good. Okay. then take a look at the second stage. Use of materialistic consequences such as rewards or withdrawal of privileges for acceptable or unacceptable behavior. So generally, this is effective in the short term, while the reinforcers are in effect, okay, either positive or negative reinforcer. Okay. Now, positive reinforcers like what? Praise, okay, positive teachers' comments, right? And so on. Okay. Now, so let's take a look at the answer the question. Who makes the rules? Of course, here, teacher. Okay. And what? Who keeps the rules? Teacher. Students are still too young. Okay, they are still too young. And how are the rules reinforced? How are the rules enforced? Okay. Of course, here, concrete what? Here, concrete rewards. Or reinforcement, okay? Like praise, okay? Nothing, not ahead, okay? That type of thing. And what? And why do students obey the rules? Just to gain some materialistic rewards or to avoid losing rewards. So it's all what? Reward. Okay? To gain and to gain and not to lose. Okay, so that's what stage 2. Stage 3. Stage 3 here, use of what? Social group. For example, use of social group to promote what? Individual conformity to the group norms and classroom rules. And remember, peers and what? The teacher out, okay? And what? That as a group here, they exert what? They exert what? Conformity, is that right? Conformity. So all students are under what? The umbrella of what? Group pressure, that right? Conformity. So the force of conformity is very strong within the classroom. All right. Now, so the overall objective here is to begin sharing the responsibility for control and discipline with the students as a group. So using what? Peer pressure, group what? Conformity to achieve what? To achieve what? Classroom management. It is highly effective for a significant time periods as long as the individual remains in the group. Remain in the group. And then sometimes even in a small cooperative group, remember cooperative learning, okay? In cooperative group, still the pressure to conform is what? Is there. And what? The use of what here? The use of what? iMessage, okay? According to what Thomas Gordon, to correct inappropriate behavior. So, what is it? What is it? The use of iMessage to correct inappropriate behavior suggested by what? By Thomas Gordon, and I will give you more examples after this. Okay, after this, all right. So there are three components in an iMessage. Okay, so take a look here. The first one, an objective description of troublesome behavior. Okay, now it has to be objective. That is to say, you do not inject your personal evaluation of whatever is happening. Okay, so for example, two people asking questions at the same time. This is an objective description. If you say that, I find it annoying when two people are talking at the same time. This is not objective, is that right? You are being more emotional, okay? All right. The next one here, an explanation of why the behavior is troublesome to the teacher and the rest of the class. Okay, and then what? Then an explanation of consequences. Okay, the consequence. Why? What? This is what troublesome. But what will be the consequence? Okay. Then a personal statement of the teacher's feeling here, rather than here, an objective description, here, a personal statement. Okay, for example, I feel frustrated trying to listen to two people at once. All right. Now, of course, here, the iMessage teachers will have to practice, because a lot of time most of us, we just start off to be egocentric first. That is to say, especially nowadays with the me generation, everything is me first. Okay, but anyway, let's take a look. Okay, the iMessage, the you and I messages. Okay? So let's take a look. Okay, how often have you been involved in a conversation in which someone said something like this? Why are you being so negative? Okay? And then the next one, you did not do what you said you were going to do, and you're not very considerate. Well, these are examples of what communication experts call you messages. You messages, an undesirable style in which speakers appear to judge people and place them in a defensive position. Okay, you, quote unquote, you communication does not always literally include the word you. However, the word you is implied when someone says the following: that was a really stupid thing to say. This one, of course, can be translated into what you said was really stupid. Is that right? The you is actually implied in the statement. Another one is that stay out of my life. Which means what? You are intruding in my life. You're stalking me. That type of thing. Now, so it is easy for you and your students to fall into the trap of using too many you messages and not enough, quote unquote, the letter I messages, okay, which are iMessages are less provocative. Okay, iMessages reflect the speaker's true feelings better than judgmental you statements. Now, Communication experts recommend replacing you messages with I messages. Okay? In some examples. So I am angry that this has gotten so negative. Another one, I don't like it when promises get broken. Finally, I am hurt when my feelings aren't taken into account. So you messages consume conversation with judgments about the other person. I messages help to move the conversation in a more constructive direction by expressing your feelings without judging the other person. So monitor your own conversation from time to time to make sure you're using I messages rather than you messages. And also monitor your students' conversations and guide them toward using more I messages. All right, so that is what I messages. Okay. All right, so this is what? This is group 3, use of social group. All right, so let's see here. It is very much like what Kohlberg's conventional stage 3, right? So who makes the rules? At this point, students are what? Are less egocentric. So teacher, and of course, students. Right? If you rely on the social group, who keep the rules? Teacher. And of course, students are involved. Okay. How are the rules enforced? Enforced by the groups. So here, because of the groups, so we have what? Discussions and meetings. Okay, say group discussions and meetings, right? Because the whole group is involved, right? All right. Good. Why do students obey the rules? Of course, here the students want to stay in the class as a group. That is a social conformity to avoid being isolated, right? So I want to belong to the group, right? Because the avoid avoid social isolation. Good. Okay. Now, whenever we are using group pressure, the teacher actually can use the class group to squelch any kind of individuality. Is that right? So that's not a good point, right? That's not a good point, right? So we've discussed I messages. Okay, let's take a look at number 4 here. Number 4 here. So here there's a shift from outside directed to individual responsibility. Very much like Gilligan. Gilligan's ideas, right? But anyway, this is what stage 4. Okay, a shift from social conformity and other directed as the individual conscience and inner direction. It is very much like Kober's one, Kober's stage 5, is that right? Very much like Kober's stage 5, and even what close to what stage 6, is that right? Individual conscience. A lot of time what this has one universal appeal. All right. So mostly Kober's stage 5 and some stage 6. So the objective is to create what a democratic one ethic. Okay? So self-governance and direction provide the scope for individuality and autonomy toward rules and laws. So legal standards regarding rules and laws are adopted. So all in all, this one here is a combination of Kober's stage 4, 5, and a little bit of 6. Right? So this one here. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, answer the question. Who makes the rules here? A democratic ethic, of course, what? Teacher and students. Okay, who helps what? Who keeps the rules? Well, in the democratic ethic here, that what? Because of what is here, that we are more for students and teachers, right? Because students form what? They form the groups that far more students than teachers. All right. How are the rules enforced? Here, students monitor own contract. Is the contract, right? Follow the rules, right? So so you make what you yourself make a contract here to follow the rules. Okay, so this one here is that what students should monitor own contract, monitor. All right. Okay. And finally, why do students want to obey the rules? Yeah. To develop one individual responsibility. Okay, to develop individual responsibility. Okay, and hence you see here there's a switch that right here. Okay, that's what equally, but then what has to be guided by the teacher. All right, so that is good. Let's go to the last one here. Here, the teachers, administrator, and students form a democratic community. Each person participates in the creation of sanctions, laws, and rules that include all aspects of schooling. All right, all aspects of schooling. So now the position or the status of the students, has been raised to the level of the teachers, right? Because of what here they participate in the creation of sanctions, laws, and rules. Okay, by the way, sanction, I find that this word is the most controversial word in English. It can mean the opposite. Use sanction and approach, that means you agree to it, or you sanction the move. You disagree, you sanction the Russian, okay, in the Ukraine war. You don't approve of what they do. Just the opposite. You find that. Look at the dictionary. This word has two has two opposite meanings. Okay, this is, I consider this word to be the most controversial, most ambiguous word in English. Okay, check that out. Okay, check that out. All right, so here we have what? Students and teacher and school administrator and all of them participate in the creation of what? Rules and laws for the operation of the school. Okay, so that's good. Okay, that is very much like what? Like Cooper's stage 5. Okay, all right, so what is happening here? Who makes the rules? Of course, everybody, is that right? So it is what? Student and teacher and what? The administrators and all that. Same here. Same here. Okay, keep the rules. And then what? How are the rules enforced? Of course, here in this case here, town meeting, town hall meeting. Okay, town meetings. And of course, what? You have what? Because of the majority, students controlled. Discipline committee, CIP committee. Okay, student, okay, a democratic aspect, a student controlled what community. Why? Because if they do that here, the likelihood is very good that they will what? Keep the rules. Is that right? They will do that. All right. Now, why do students obey the rules? Look at the tall order here is out of an understanding of principles of justice and the meaning of a democratic community of rights and responsibilities. Okay, this is what very much like Cooper's was stage 5. Is that right? Okay, it's very much like Cooper's stage 5 here. So out of an understanding of principles of justice and the meaning of a democratic community of rights and responsibilities. Okay, so we have finished this here. Okay, finished all the 5 stages. Now, classifications of students into these stages are not permanent. Okay, because this is a growth issues. Okay, and discussions about the reasons for rules conducted at the child's level of understanding can aid in promoting growth. Now, of course, these are for younger students. Modes of reasoning represents the reasoning process at difficult and stressful times without unusual stress or upset. Plus one reasoning is common. That is to say here, students at this stage here, they have all of them when they because of a pooling of a more advanced stage. This is called modal stage +1. Remember? So the direction students tend to move this way. All right, and move this way. Of course, during difficult and stressful times, there is something called regression. That is Freud's idea that students at stage 3 will regress to stage 2, stressful time. But this is the worst case scenario. In normal time, without unusual stress or upset, most students prefer the +1 stage, motor stage +1. Of course, all this here, they have to do with what? Intellectual development, is that right? They're all tied in, you know, all this stage theories, they're all tied in, okay? In order to reach this stage here, or even what, this stage here, stop that here, students must be at the formal operational stage. Here, likely to be concrete operational, all right? So that's what classroom management. Okay. Thank you.